وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. الله رب محمد صلى عليه وسلم نحن عباد محمد صلى عليه وسلم رب شرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Inshallah al-Aziz, today we will go through the legal cause for the obligation of fasting, meaning that what is a legal cause which makes fasting fard upon a Muslim. So last session we went through the conditions of fasting and we covered that there were 6 conditions which were mentioned. That a person, he must be a Muslim, and then he must be sane, he must be mature, free from illness, and therefore women, they must be free from their monthly cycles and postnatal bleeding, and then also to be a resident. Today we will go through the legal cause. So now the cause which obligates the fasting of Ramadan is one's witnessing a part of Ramadan. The arrival for each day of Ramadan is a reason obligating one to the fast that particular day. So what makes fasting fard upon you is witnessing the month of Ramadan. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that fasting is fard for you in the month of Ramadan now, in order for fasting to be fard upon us, Ramadan has to enter. So now generally, for example, now we're in the month of Sha'ban al-Mu'adham, and if I speak to you, you speak to me, and I will say to you, will you fast in the month of Ramadan? Fasting is fard upon you now. You seem to be 16, 17 years old. So now if I say this statement to you, this does not mean that fasting is fard upon you right now, meaning that if Ramadan was present right now, and you were alive, and you met all the conditions, then yes, fasting would be fard upon you. So meaning that, generally we say these sort of things, fasting is fard upon you, but this generally means that if Ramadan was here and you met all the conditions, and you'd be fasting. Yes? So now in order for one to fast, likewise in Salah as well. Yeah, in order for one to pray Salah, one of the conditions of Salah is time. So time has to enter. Yeah, so if a person wants to, for example, pray Zohar, he can't pray Zohar at 10 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because the Zohar for that day hasn't become fard on him. Why? Because the time has not entered yet. The time for Zohar, for instance, is at 1 o'clock. So now 1 o'clock, as soon as the time clicks to 1 o'clock, then that's it. Zohar for that day becomes fard upon you. Likewise in Ramadan, in order for you to for fasting to be fard upon you, you have to witness Ramadan. So now if a person, for example, we're in the year 1441 and we're in the month of Sha'ban, and someone passes away on the 29th of Sha'ban, 28th of Sha'ban, and we cannot say that that person was sinful because he never fasted in the month of Ramadan, because fasting in the month of Ramadan was fard upon him. No. Yes, fasting would be fard on him if Ramadan entered. Yes, so now this is something we must bear in mind. So the legal cause of obligation of fasting is the month itself. So as soon as Ramadan starts, then what happens is that fasting becomes fard on you. And then each day of Ramadan, as each day enters, then the fasting of that day becomes fard upon you. Then moving on, talking about the niyyah, the intention. Yes, so when should a person make an intention of fasting? Again, this is a really crucial and important point we must remember. So, just to make this clear, that if you're fasting in the month of Ramadan, yes, ada, we talk about not qada, making up for Ramadan, but just normal Ramadan, you're fasting. Or if it's nafil fast, you can make your intention before the starting time of Dahwa Kubra. Meaning that, generally we call this the Zawal time. So before the Zawal time starts, so before the midday. Yes, so before that we can make the intention for fasting. So now for nafil fasts and the fast of Ramadan. So for instance, now in the month of Ramadan, some people do not wake up for sihri. Now if you have not woken up for sihri and you wake up at 10 o'clock and you look at the time and you know that the time is before Dahwa Kubra, before the midday, so now you can make the intention of fasting. You did not do your sihri, perfect. Yes? So you can make the intention of fasting, but you need to remember that that's only with the condition that you have not ate anything. So if a person drank water Yes, or if a person ate something and then he says, I made the intention, no. So since the time of sihr, you have not ate anything as well. Yes, and what happened is that you woke up at 10 o'clock, you missed your sihri, still before midday, you can make the intention of fasting of that day. That's something clear. But if a person wakes up at 3 o'clock, so he went to sleep at night and woke up and he did not make the intention, then he cannot fast for that day. This is something which must be clear and we must remember. And at the same time, intention, a lot of the times people think that is something we say with the mouth. Yeah, so for example, when it comes to salah as well. Now, intention is something within the heart. Yeah, the irada, you intend to do something, that is intention. And saying it with your mouth, when it comes to salah as well, our ulama in the Hanafi fiqh have mentioned that it's mustahab. Why? Because it confirms what's in your heart. So when it comes to fasting as well, you don't have to say it with you. So وَبِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانِ. This is the dua and the intention. Again, you don't have to say it verbally. Like our ulama have mentioned this as well, that if a person wakes up for sihri, still he does not need to make an intention in his mind, in his heart, and with his tongue as well. Why? Because his actions are proving that he will fast, so they cover the intention. Why? Because you do sihri for a reason. And why does a person perform sihri? A person performs sihri, why? Because he will fast. So that automatically. So that is intention covered. So this is something we must remember. So if a person wakes up and he hasn't done sihri, and he woke up at 10 o'clock, he can make the intention of fasting of that Ramadan, of that day of fast, and at the same time, with the condition that he has not ate anything, or he has not performed any action which would nullify the fast, and at the same time, his intention should be that he's fasting not from that 10 o'clock he woke up, but his fast started at the sihri time. Yeah, so that must be included in the intention. So we've covered the intention as well. It's really important that we understand this. And then if a person is doing qada of the previous Ramadan, so for example, if a woman missed her fasting of Ramadan due to a reason, or generally a person missed it for whatever reason, now you're making up, so you're doing qada of that Ramadan, then your intention has to be made before true dawn. Yeah, so for example, I missed one fast in the last Ramadan, I want to make up for it today. I have to make the intention of making that fast up before the sihri time. So I can't carry on till the midday. Yeah, so if I wake up at 10 o'clock, I'll say, I'm making up for that Ramadan. That's not the case. You have to, before the sihri time ends, you have to make the intention for that. We'll keep it till here, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand, inshallah. Ameen. Bijah Nabil Ameen sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.